We're going to learn from an influencer and an innovator, a person that helps small business people and entrepreneurs get from where they are to where they want to go. She is a business builder. She is a mother. She is a wife. She's a spiritual mentor. And she is awesome. If you own a business, if you're an entrepreneur, and if you want to bridge the gap between where you are and the success that you know that you're supposed to be, Yvette is going to be somebody you want to listen to. April, what else are we going to learn?
Well, I loved our conversation. We're going to go over how I went from earning $9 an hour, just barely getting by as a single mom, to generating $9 million in 1 year. We'll learn about my early life of growing up in Alabama and living across the country with a military dad and big family. And then we're going to dive deeper into really some of the big lessons that I learned on my journey of being on the TV show Shark Tank and how that landed me on the path that I'm on
What
now.
is the roadmap to defeat self-sabotage, negative thinking, and learned helplessness? In these unprecedented times, you must get connected, get growing, get certain, and get attitude. The Get Attitude Podcast. Today we have an unbelievable guest. I see her all the time on Facebook. Internet marketers fascinate me, and I think we have one of the best internet marketers in our presence today. If you're a small business owner, if you're somebody that is trying to launch a business, this podcast is going to be just for you. We have the incredible Yvette from Yvette International, and she has created the purpose-driven life for coaches and entrepreneurs. She also has several online courses. She helps entrepreneurs and small business people launch their business online, and she's going to talk to us about what she does, how she does it, how she creates sales funnels, how she creates branded messaging that attract people to your business. And I am so excited to introduce you to my good friend, Yvette. April, welcome to the Get Attitude Podcast.
Oh, gosh. Thank you so much, Glenn. What an honor it is to be with you today. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, we are in season 2 at the Get Attitude Podcast, and we're focusing on innovators and influencers. And as I told you off camera, I see you all the time, and I'm like, this girl is getting things done. So why don't you give me a little bit of insight on what your thought is about being an innovator, what that means for the people who are listening, and an influencer, because I really believe that you do both. Tell me how that started and what you do and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, thanks. You know, being an innovator is who you choose to become. Because I don't think you need to be an extraordinary genius to be an innovator. You've just got to find new alternative ways to solve an old problem. And that puts you in the position of being not only an innovator, but possibly even an emerging thought leader, because you've got a new way of solving an old problem or handling an old topic that's been plaguing people for some time.
And so when you think about innovators that you've worked with or networked with or studied, who comes to mind? And what new answer to an old problem did they show you?
My favorite one is Seth Godin.
Ah.
Oh, yeah. My all-time favorite marketing book is The Purple Cow.
Cool. And tell us a little bit about The Purple Cow. It's by Seth Godin.
It is. So he gives an analogy of if he was driving through the country and he saw a field of black and white cows or brown cows, he said that would be boring. Nobody would pay attention to it. Nobody would watch. But if you were going and you see a purple cow in the middle of the field surrounded by brown cows and black and white cows, now that is something newsworthy. That's something to talk about. It's new, it's different, and you stand out. That is part of what I love.
Yeah, I love it. And so you work with small business owners and entrepreneurs, helping them become a quote-unquote purple cow, I guess, in their business, right?
Yes.
Do you have a process when you bring on a client? Like, what are the first 2 or 3 things that you coach or train your entrepreneurs to do in order to build their business and attract their customers?
Well, I work with purpose-driven coaches, course creators, consultants, and even entrepreneurs. I help them to package their advice into an online course, and then I teach them a system for how to get clients so they can change the world. But one of the things that I talk about that I'm very passionate about is the world does not need another carbon copy entrepreneur. What the world needs is an emerging thought leader entrepreneur, to where you are bringing a very fresh perspective on an old topic, and you've got an innovative way to solve the problem that they have not tried before. And that's part of what's needed right now in business.
And so I just love that, the purpose-driven coach and entrepreneurs. Talk to us a little bit about being purpose-driven. Where did you pick up on that line? I think the Purpose-Driven Leader, I think, was a book. But talk to us a little bit about this thing called purpose and being purpose-driven. What does that mean?
So let me share why I chose purpose-driven is because that's who I am. So everything that I do and everything my clients do is purpose-driven, meaning it's not the primary focus isn't about the money, although when you're a business owner, nothing wrong with having financial goals, revenue goals, income goals, but really it's because you've had a painful problem in your life that you've overcome, and now you feel called or led to help other people solve that similar problem. Or you helped somebody else with a painful problem overcome it, and that is also purpose-driven, where you feel led to help others overcome it. That's what I mean by purpose-driven.
And I think we mentioned a little bit, you have a Facebook group. Can you tell me what that's called?
Sure. My Facebook group, it's a free group, and it's for purpose-driven coaches and entrepreneurs.
Cool.
It's all about how to attract clients, online courses, and messaging. That's what the whole group is about.
And so it's called Purpose-Driven Coaches and Entrepreneurs. That's the group.
Yep, that's the group name.
And April is live in that Facebook group every Friday at, I think, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Is that right?
Yeah, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
There you go, Tuesday at 2. So if you guys want to expand your thought process with April, all you got to do, jump onto Facebook. Ooh, I think we may even have it pulled up there, which is great.
Oh, great.
Tuesday at 2, and she will help you with 5 marketing strategies to attract clients. Why don't we use that topic? Do you want to? You don't have to give us all 5, but what are your 2 or 3 best marketing strategies to attract clients from that speech?
Yeah, so number 1, you need a lead magnet. So you need a lead magnet that is... there's different types of lead magnets, like a how-to advice, but again, it's got to be different and innovative. Another one is you need a 40-minute presentation. So that is also a way, that could be one of your lead magnets that magnetically attracts your ideal clients to you. Another way is starting your own free Facebook group, because you'll be able to attract clients. It's an easy yes to invite people to join a free pay Facebook group, so you can build the know, like, and trust factor that leads them closer into working with you, so you can help them. That's great. Now tell me about, you've been coaching a lot of people. And I know you love all your clients, but is there one client or entrepreneur that sticks out that you said, you know what, I made a difference and they're crushing it? Who is that person in your life? Oh my gosh, there's so many. I know. So let me give you an example of Donald, my client Donald. He was a wayward teenager, getting into trouble, run-ins with the law. He had no direct sense of direction in his life, and he was able to completely overcome that, get out of any drug use or any, he was dabbling in alcohol and drugs back then. It was this downward spiral. He created a course that helps to rescue teens from going down that wrong path. Wow. And I helped him to package it and price it so that he can help to save other teens' lives. Wow, that's beautiful. And that's just so awesome, you know, that you get to do that. You must pinch yourself and go, I can't believe I do what I do, right? Yes, for sure. Let's talk about April as an attitude coach, even though you may not be, but what does attitude mean to you? Attitude is your state of mind and your thoughts around what's showing up in your life and also what you want to do and what you are here to do. Your attitude will determine the results that are showing up. And that really the root of that goes back to mindset. So what's your mindset? Our beliefs are certainly driving those thoughts that we have. The thoughts are driving our emotions. Emotions drive our behaviors and actions. And those actions and behaviors over time create the results that we're experiencing. So if we like what we are creating, the results we're getting, we created that. But if we don't like the results that we created, we can absolutely choose to change it and create a new result.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like maybe you've studied this a little bit.
I have.
Tell me who April was before she was April on Facebook helping entrepreneurs.
I went from being a high school dropout in a bad relationship, and then eventually a single mom with 2 little kids, making $9 an hour, barely getting by. And I remember through some prayer and some soul searching, I just made a decision that I was going to change my life. I didn't know how, so I stumbled across a book. I'd never read an entire book through my whole life, even through school. And the short version is, I went from earning $9 an hour, just barely getting by, to generating $9 million in sales in 1 year, and I won Salesperson of the Year. And it dramatically changed my life and my kids' life. And what I learned from that is I made a decision to no longer be a victim of my circumstances, and instead I chose to take 100% responsibility for my results and even for my income. And then that's when I started doing things differently, and I started studying successful people and millionaires and reading. I read 125 books on sales and marketing. I honed my skills in that area, and that's when I had that breakthrough. And it led all the way up to getting on Shark Tank, inventing a product, and now being a sales coach.
So let's talk about Shark Tank. You were on there in the early days of Shark Tank, if I remember correctly. Did you get any money, and did you apply for it? What was the process, and what was your overall your overall impression of doing that? I mean, what an incredible accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, I was on Shark Tank. It was one of the best experiences I could have done. I was on season 2. And the investors on the show, the sharks on the show, did not make me an offer to invest in my product. After it aired on national television, I did get 3 offers from other investors that saw me on television. And what's interesting is the offers that I got still weren't quite enough revenue for me to be able to get the inventory and do clinical trials that I needed. So I politely turned down their offers and just kept going on the path until I completely sold out of product.
Right.
So, but the whole experience, it changed me.
I bet it did. How did it change you?
The truth is, I had spent the majority of my life trying to prove my worthiness through external things.
Wow.
Like my success, how much money I made, hitting my goals. And when I was at a place where I didn't make my $1 million goal, I fell somewhere around the 6-figure mark, but I didn't make the big goal, right? That challenged my ego, and my ego began to crumble, and it brought me to my knees. And that's when I realized that I don't have anything to prove. I'm worthy no matter what happens in my business, in my personal life. I don't need material things to prove anything. So I started to feel worthy and good enough no matter what.
And so Shark Tank, did that create that validation for you because it's a national television show? Is that
right? It's like I got to be on the TV, right?
Right.
So that was filling that bucket of trying to prove, I am good enough. I am smart enough. I am worthy.
So let's talk real quick. We'll get back to Shark Tank. What was your job for $9 an hour? What were you doing?
I worked in the cosmetic department in a department store.
Wow.
For many years. That when I first started.
I'll be doggone. Selling perfume and cosmetics, right?
Yeah.
And then your $9 million business, I think, was real estate. Is that correct?
Exactly. I started selling. I literally went I worked my way up to management, right? So in working in retail, I had a retail job and into management, but it still wasn't enough to get by, right? So I literally switched careers. I went from selling lip glosses and cosmetics and stuff to selling houses. So sometimes to move from where you are to where you want to be requires a new location.
True.
Yeah.
And so that's proximity and location, like you said. Were you at Centex Homes?
Yes, I was.
See, I think we knew each other from Centex Homes.
Oh.
I think we met each other in a previous life, right? So what caused you to get out of selling real estate? You were killing it. You were great. Was there something inside that said there's more to me than this? Or what happened there?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I just sensed there's something more. I couldn't even put my finger on it because I was successful at it. It'd become easy. I was, I got promoted to the corporate office. But I had an idea for an invention, a product in the back of my mind. And I thought, I'm either going to just die with this innovative idea inside me and never do anything with it or try it.
Right.
Most of us have ideas and things that we never, we're just afraid of failure, afraid of what might happen. But it just might turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to you, whether you fail or succeed.
And was that the lip gloss?
Yes.
So that's what you went into, and then boom, you hit Shark Tank and make that happen. Was Barbara Corcoran in the audience?
She was. Yeah.
Did you get to meet any of the sharks, talk to any of the sharks, or were you just boom, you walked in and you walked out?
That's exactly how it works. You don't get to meet them or hang out with them in the green room before it's your time. So literally, it's live. What they capture on video, that's what's going to be on the show. And of course, they do some creative editing.
Sure. And did you? Was there an audition? Did you have to audition?
Yeah, you do. You have to. There was this long submission process. Where you had to submit why you would be, like you had to answer a whole bunch of questions and things like that for why you would be a good candidate for the show, and it was a process. So you go through, you make it through stage 1, then they say, okay, we need a video. Then you make it through stage 2, and then they'll let you know if you made it or not.
Wow. And do you watch Shark Tank still?
Occasionally.
But not all the time?
Not all the time.
Who was your favorite shark?
Robert Herjavec.
Really?
Yes.
Such a humble guy.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked him.
Was it just his presence, or did he say something to you that gave you hope? Or
it was both.
Yeah.
He was, on Shark Tank, they usually come at you, and, that's part of building drama for the show. I get that. But he's like, I see what you're doing here. I really do. I'm not sure if I'm completely in for this, but I get it.
Interesting.
So he wasn't mean or putting you down like maybe some of the other sharks, like Mr. Wonderful. Yeah.
He ain't afraid to do that.
Right.
Tell me, who was your first attitude coach?
Les Brown.
Wow. Les was a guest on our Get Attitude podcast.
Yes, I met him in person because his book was the book I read that changed my life.
Which was called what?
Live Your Dreams.
Live Your Dreams.
This was in 1998.
Isn't that something? So you met him in person.
Years later, I finally got to meet him.
Did you? You stalked him?
Right.
Shook his hand at
yeah. He was in town. I'm like, I'm there. I am going to that event. And I said, sometimes stories change lives. You've got to share your story. You never know whose life you're not only impacting, your story could be changing future generations, just the fact that you shared it. And never think that your story, well, mine's not as big or as dramatic as other people's stories. I don't really have a good story. Yes, you do. Somebody needs to hear it.
So what's your story?
That is my story, is making a choice to move from being a victim of my life and my circumstances to becoming a victor and an overcomer, like stepping into that, letting go of that victim thinking and being the creator that I was designed to be and create my best life.
That's right out of Joel Osteen. Do you watch Joel?
Yes, I love his book. I love his books too, and I love him as a pastor.
I like Dr. Joyce Meyer too.
Oh,
Do you
she's
ever watch
fantastic.
her?
Yes.
She's just unreal. So I think you're from the South. Tell me about what it was like growing up. Tell me about young April?
Yeah, I'm originally from Alabama. So my family, all of my family lives in a small town down there. And I ended up here. But my dad's a retired Marine, so early on, although we're from Alabama, we moved a lot as a kid, so that really helped to shape who I am, and I learned how to be very adaptable. I adapt to change very easily, so that was definitely a blessing, but I moved here, Indianapolis, around 1995, and I just ended up staying.
And then, so your pop was a Marine.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like? What was his attitude?
Discipline.
Period.
Listen, okay, so my dad always said, he was always harping on me and preaching responsibility. So it's no wonder. And as a teenager, preteen, I'd roll my eyes, right? But now I get it. I'm like, I understand why he kept
Are they
talking
still with
about
us,
that.
your folks?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, you're lucky. Some of us don't get that. What about your mom? What was her deal?
My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was very loving. We went to church every Sunday when I grew up. And even, you better be on your deathbed, otherwise get up, you're going to church. Right?
What a great lesson.
Oh,
Not enough of that now.
Oh, man, boy, did that help. At the time, I didn't think so, but man, thank goodness she did that.
Yeah, probably made you, and there's that deep faith inside that can really change lives, for sure.
Yeah, I put God first in my life and in my business. Yeah.
I love it. That's a good place to put him. Tell me about Grandma and Grandpa. Do you have some grandparents, and what was their attitude, and what did you learn from them?
Interesting questions. So since I'm from Alabama, my grandmother is called Mama. So my Mama, that's what you call them down there. My mom's mother, so loving. She was definitely one that would always rescue animals and dogs and strays, and she would nurse them back to health, and she would put herself first above any other people and even pets because she just cared. You knew you were loved in her presence.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then how about Grandpa?
So my grandpa, he died when my mom was about 14 years old. I never got to meet him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what about your dad's mom or dad? Any relationship there, or did you?
Yes, we saw them every summer. We would go and visit and, have family time. I was adopted by my father when I was about 3 years old. So my mom gave birth, when she gave birth to me, she was a single, but then she met my dad, who was in the military, and thank goodness, what a blessing.
Wow.
He's always just treated me like he's my dad.
Right. And so your maternal mom you've had.
Yes.
Right. And then
yes.
and then he now was his dad a Marine? Because sometimes it goes in the family. I'm just curious.
No, but he was pretty disciplined and direct, and that was kind of his personality anyway.
Now, tell me what Yvette does in her downtime when you're not on social media and helping entrepreneurs and trainers. What do you like to do, and what's your hobbies, or what gives you growth and strength?
Having downtime is very important. I make that important. So I don't even work. I don't even check email on weekends. Saturdays, Sundays is family time, and then I'm mindful of getting literally off the computer and done in the evenings. I just want to say that. But my downtime, I love going to the beach vacations, maybe once a year with my family.
Nice.
I love to spend time. I go to church every Sunday. That's another thing I do. And then I have a play date I've got a 9-year-old daughter, and then I have 3 grandkids that live here.
Oh my gosh.
And they're close in age. So we have a play date and get together. Oh my gosh, that's so much fun.
Those grandbabies just melt your heart, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
So you have a daughter that's 9 and some grandkids that are close to that.
I do. And then I go to dinner with my husband. We hang out. We always have date nights. So it's really nice.
And how long have you been married?
We've been together for 15 years, but we've been married since 2012.
Cool. And then what's that love story, and where'd you meet him?
It was pretty random. I was going to the gym. I met a guy at the gym. We just kind of were talking. He said, I'm having a dinner party. You want to come Saturday night? I said, okay. Wasn't really interested in anything with him. I just thought, I'll stop by. And I met him there that night.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
And there you go. So when we talk about attitude, when we talk about helping entrepreneurs, we have 10 attitude boosters. And one of the attitude boosters is called Love Adversity. I'd love to have you talk to me about adversity, maybe an adversity that you've overcome in your life. And for those people who are facing adversity on our podcast, what is your message of hope? What is your message of adversity and how to overcome it and get through it?
Overcoming adversity in life starts, this is it. Any change that is going to occur in our business, it begins with our willingness to tell the absolute radical truth. That's not meant to beat ourselves up or put ourselves down, but just in a loving way, just tell the truth. How am I contributing to what I'm experiencing right now? From there, you can then map out a plan to create some positive changes and start overcoming that adversity and moving in that direction with what you have control over. Some things we don't have control over, but for the most part, you do it one baby step at a time.
Attitude booster number 10 is be a part of something bigger than you. Are you a part of something bigger than you? I mean, I know Yvette International is bigger than you, but are there other things that you're doing that you're participating in that give you the juice, that give you the passion and the insight and the growth mindset? What are some of those things?
Yes, I believe that it's important to be purpose-driven or just contribution, something greater than yourself. Something greater than myself is I like to contribute and financially, even volunteering, even with my voice or conversations with single moms.
Oh, cool.
And because that's what I was for a long time. And others who just feel like they're stuck because I went from a place of being stuck and not seeing a way out, to then getting out of the box and doing something radically different because I chose to see it in a different light.
And I'm guessing I was, the natural follow-up, and I think, single motherhood is something that's prevalent.
Yeah.
And I think single moms need to stick together. They need to be raised up. They need to be supported. What's your message for single mothers? What do you see single mothers do that's not good? And what do you see single mothers do that's harrowing?
One of the things I see and I'm just pulling from my own personal experience, is there was a point in my career where I was so just laser focused on success and I was driven by scarcity and fear of not having enough. And that caused me to become a workaholic at one point in my life. That made a really bad impact on my youngest daughter. And it took me a long time to rebuild that relationship with her because I was never around. So really kind of keeping the main thing and the most important things. Making time for kids, even though you are working. And then just knowing that you can do this. You can. You have control over this. You're not powerless. So you can create a prosperous, happy life and have a loving relationship and all those things that you've always wanted. When
you talk about the workaholic years, right?
Yeah.
Like, what was your day like? What were you doing? Was this the real estate or was this the cosmetics?
Yeah, I was in real estate.
All right. So you were up at 8 and not home till 10.
I was gone. This went on for several years. I was gone. All right. Short story. Turned into a workaholic. I'm never around. My 14-year-old, she had just turned 14 years old at home. She would say, Mom, you promised you would come home again. I thought we were going to go to the mall and be like, I'm sorry, honey, go ahead and get yourself out of the fridge. Get something to eat. I'm sorry, I'm working late. I have a client that might come back, so I'm working late again. This went on for years.
Wow.
She was in a car. She ended up getting involved with the wrong crowd. She ended up being in a car accident. In the middle of the night. They snuck out, no drugs or drinking involved, but it was a fatal accident.
Wow.
One of the teenagers lost their life. My daughter had switched seats with that teenager that lost her life at the last second before they left.
Wow.
And she ended up to have stitches, like by a plastic surgeon at the hospital. But that was my wake-up call. That the money makes me emotional thinking about it. The money, the accolades, winning the awards are nothing if you don't have your child.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why.
So beautiful.
Sorry about that. I wasn't planning on sharing that, but
that's what I do to people.
Yes.
You're not the only person that's tried on our podcast.
Yeah. So that's when I learned that valuable lesson that I needed balance in my life. You can be successful and reach your income goals and your revenue goals in your business, but you can do it in a balanced way where you're neglecting your children or your spouse.
Yeah.
That's what I've had to learn.
And, that's a plan, and that's purpose-driven.
Yeah.
And it's easy to lose that purpose. It's easy to lose that plan. It's easy to be, have your vision just gone, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so it's a heart-wrenching story, but sometimes God has a way to wake us up that's just so painful. And,
right. Sometimes we need those wake-up calls. I did.
Yeah.
I was so blindsided, just stuck in that old way of doing things that I didn't even realize it.
So we have this thing when we finish up our interviews that you may or may not know called Knowledge Through the Decades. Now, I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but you're going to play this with me to finish up our podcast. Does that sound good?
Okay, great.
And so what I want to ask you is I want you to walk through your life in each decade of your life. And I want you to tell me what the attitude lesson is at certain benchmarks and age marks in your life.
Okay.
So we're heavily edited. You don't have to worry. If you mess it up, that's fine.
Okay.
You don't have to be a world-class answer, but speak from your heart, which I think you've done. And we thank you so much because your knowledge and your message today has been fantastic. And I think the people that are listening to this certainly are going to garner hope, garner clarity, and garner belief in what they can do. And I think that if you go to Yvette.com, you're going to get more of what April does, and I would encourage you to follow her because she is an inspiration to me, and she's somebody that I follow. So there's her little April Yvette website right there with
Got
all
the
of
same
her
shirt
stuff.
on.
There you go. It's your photo shirt. I love it.
Yeah.
Was that planned?
Not really. I was just in the closet, and I just threw this on and then didn't think about it.
I love it. She matches. That never happens to us. So I want you to think, you've given birth 3 times. Like, what is the attitude lesson of childbirth, of that new life, in your opinion?
Oh, gosh.
What can we learn from a newborn baby? That's what I'm getting at.
Babies change your life. They help you to learn how to not be selfish, and they help you to learn unconditional love.
Right.
Yeah.
No limits.
Right.
For sure. I want you to think back of being a little girl in Alabama when you were 10 years old.
Okay.
3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah.
Do you remember your teacher's name?
No.
Isn't that funny? So many people don't. But you certainly remember being 10. What was an attitude lesson that you learned at 10 years old?
At 10 years old, I learned that I'm trying to think back at 10 what I learned. 10 years old. Oh, 10.
3rd and 4th grade.
Okay.
Something went on in your life in 3rd and 4th grade, I'm sure of it.
So when I was 10 years old, I think the attitude lesson that I learned was my willingness to share and contribute as a part of a large family, because I had 6 siblings. It was a blended family.
Okay.
So you had to learn how to wait your turn and help your little brother get this done, and things like that. So that was a good lesson.
So were you a middle child?
Yes.
3 or 4?
Yeah, I was the 4th, and I had 3 younger brothers, and then I had an older brother, older sister, but they came to stay with us in the summer.
Are you a Libra?
No.
What are you?
Sagittarius.
Ah, interesting. Love Sagittarius. All right, so fantastic lesson, right? I mean, big families teach you how to do things, wait your turn, be a part of something. I mean, it's a different deal. You don't matter. You cease to exist as an individual, is what we used to say when we coached football teams. When you were 20, okay, so now you're either in college or did you graduate from college?
I went to college for 3 years, and then when I generated $9 million in sales in 1 year, I'm like, well,
I don't need this.
I'm too busy. I was too busy with clients to finish. So I was forced to make a decision. Yeah.
So were you 20 in college, or were you 20 selling homes?
Older.
Older. Well, then tell me about being 20. What was your attitude lesson when you turned 20?
20. The attitude lesson I had to learn was to take my power back, because I was in a relationship where I was being controlled. And it was harmful for me and my kids. And then I left shortly after that.
That's good. So look at somebody that's listening right now, maybe in a relationship where they're being controlled. What advice can you give them? How do you break the pattern? How did you take your power back? What were the step 1, step 2, step 3? What would you tell them?
Yeah. So the truth is, I heard Oprah. I was watching an Oprah Winfrey show back in the day when it was still on TV. And she had a guest on that shared how she was in this abusive relationship and got out of it. And that, every time I saw some kind of story like that gave me hope and strength to be able to do it. So I called my family. And I said, come get me. I'm done. I'm ready to go. So they drove from Indianapolis down to South Georgia. We got a U-Haul, and I didn't even have very much stuff to bring back, but that's how I ended up here.
Done. So let's move to 30. I'm guessing you were the real estate queen when you turned 30, right? So you've already shared with us a little bit of your attitude lesson at 30 and being a workaholic and going, I need to get things straight. What else comes to your mind when you think about being 30 and what you were going through and what the attitude lesson might be for a 30-year-old who's listening to this right now?
Yeah. So at around 30 years old, I was selling racing sponsorships. I was a marketing manager for an IRL race team.
Oh, my gosh. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, tell me about that.
And managing. I was part of my 30s, early 30s, I was a retail store manager. And then part of it, then I got this job doing that. That's where I learned to really start to be more confident. Be more confident, a little bit more at a time than I was in my 20s, and go after my dream.
I love it. And so what race team was that?
Rowe Racing, ROE Racing.
Really?
Yep, the driver was Billy Rowe.
Billy Rowe.
Yeah.
And you sold sponsorships. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, now, are you 40?
Yes.
You are. Okay, so I can ask you.
Good question.
Thank you. I can ask you about your attitude lesson for being 40. Do you remember turning 40, and what do you think 40, what was the attitude lesson when that hit?
The lesson that I learned in my 40s was surrender. I had to, this is a big lesson. I want you all to really get this if you're listening to this. One of the stages, the third stage of spiritual growth, is releasing the need to try to control, seeking control, and instead surrendering. Surrendering to a power that's greater than yourself. For me, it's God.
Yeah.
It's the Lord.
Let go, let God.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's amazing how freeing that can be.
Totally.
And how light your steps become.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if I should broach if you've turned 50 or not.
Not yet.
Not yet. So you're still in your 40s. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, that is what we do with Knowledge Through the Decade. And I think the idea of confidence, the idea of surrender, the idea of unconditional love, and the idea of getting along are great messages for our Get Attitude podcast. Our gappers is what we call them. And what we always like to do is just kind of end up on this. What would you like to tell our gappers as a message of hope? People come and they tune in because you know what? They're trying to get attitude. They're trying to become a better person. They're trying to change their life. And we have influencers and innovators, which I really believe that you are, and you've been great today. We are so thankful that you're here. What would you just like to close the show on? And what's that message of hope for those people that are out there listening to you today?
I would say the situation that you're in is temporary. There is nothing that is permanent our life is always changing and evolving. As painful as it feels now, or as sometimes it feels, you feel helpless or powerless, but I want you to know that you absolutely have the power to change your situation and get on the path that you're destined to live. But nobody can do it for you. It's a decision, and then you've got to take action. I call it faith in action.
I love that.
It's
That's
both
wonderful.
and get a good mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes our mentors are silent for a while. You're reading their book, following their YouTube videos or their podcasts or whatever you're doing, and then eventually invest in a mentor. Get the right mentor that can help you in your life.
Attitude booster number 5, have a mentor and copy him or her.
Yes.
So Les Brown, I know, is one of your mentors. Tell me, is there any other mentors that you have that you follow that maybe our gappers should be checking out?
That's the primary one. Well, for marketing, it's Seth Godin for sure.
Okay.
I always still read his stuff.
Right.
And I love, Pastor Joel Osteen. I love Kevin Zadai. Well, I listen to a lot of ministers and things like that also. So it's both and marketing, sales, spirituality.
I love it.
Yeah, faith-based.
And so your message of hope was so appropriate because the bottom line is that is the life that you live, right?
Yeah.
You're helping people bridge the gap from who they are to who they want to become and from where they are to where they want to go with your cool, purpose-driven coaches and entrepreneurs program. So if you guys liked what you heard today, I encourage you to go see April on her website, aprilevette.com, and get involved in her courses. Get in her Facebook group. You can see her live every single Tuesday at 2 p.m. because you know what? If you're listening to this, I know that there is more to you than there is showing up right now, and this gal will help you get there. April Yvette, it's been such an honor and so great to have you on our show today, and we look forward to following all your success in the future.
Thank you, Glenn. I just really appreciate it, and I loved our conversation.
All right, very good. And this is Glenn Bill signing off for the Get Attitude Podcast.